Our first speaker today in this hall is Ved Prakash, staff data engineer at GitLab. Ved will be presenting Supercharging Your Data Strategy, building a scalable pipeline for AI and web insights with GitLab, Snowplow, and Snowpipe. In this session, Ved will share GitLab's journey in creating a scalable data pipeline to capture AI productivity metrics and web event data. He will discuss how they use Snowplow and for event tracking and enrichment alongside Snowpipe for seamless data ingestion into Snowflake. Please welcome Ved Prakash to the stage.
Hi, good morning, and welcome to Belgrade. It's a lovely keynote session we just had, and it was really great to hear. So today, we talked about AI, so a little bit on AI, but basically, the ground starts for AI is from the data. So the knowledge which I want to share today is like, how do you handle this in the new world of AI? How do you capture the events which is happening? What's happening on the source, how it is impacting the overall insights, how the LLM models are getting trained, and all those things, how the feedback goes. So this is what we will talk about today, that how we build a scalable pipeline for AI and web analytics at GitLab, what we have built, and to showcase and share the knowledge with the same. So a little bit brief on the agenda. It will be a brief introduction about GitLab. We'll discuss about the challenges which triggered this whole point, deep dive in each tool, what we have used, end-to-end architecture, benefits of integrated approach, and the Q&A at the last, the favorite part. So GitLab as a company, so our mission, everyone can contribute. This is our motto and a thing that we grow together with, where everyone contributes to the product itself. And this is GitLab credit values. Now, these are the value which is not just written on the pen and paper. It is the value with which we live with, and we every day in our work and in the slides, down slide, you will see we are following certain values, where the C stands for the collaboration. It's a collaboration with the developers, with the customers, with everyone. R stands for results for the customer, E for efficiency, D for diversity and inclusion, I for iteration, and T for transparency. So we are transparent, we iterate small, we iterate fast, we deliver efficient results, and that's the goal. So what GitLab is doing? The GitLab is a DevSecOps platform delivered as a single application to help you iterate faster and innovate together. It is a whole package in itself which can help you to do plan, create, package, deploy, the whole CI/CD process itself. The GitLab will drill down little down to the data platform team. The part of the team which I belong to is a part of the central data team. And in the GitLab, the data organization, we work in a hub and spoke model. We are the central data team, sits in the mid, and we support all the pillars of the organization like sales, product engineering, finance, people, analytics engineering team, the enterprise insight and data science teams, and the data platform. So this is the data leadership forum to align on prioritization. This is how the team is structured. This is where we sit in mid, and we help all people across. So now with GitLab and all done, let's go to the challenges. Why we need to have a strategy, data strategy. Right now, the biggest challenge is to gain insight from all web events occurring on GitLab with in-depth analysis. Basically, how to get the user journey, analysis conversion, tracking, engagement metrics. To track how a user is using our website or in the whole application, are they using each and every features or the product what we have. That's one challenge, and that's an abundance of data which gets produced every time. The next one, which is for the AI, so GitLab Duo Analytics, capturing code suggestion. So people who are not aware of GitLab Duo is a suite of AI-powered features designed to enhance productivity and productivity to enhance the development. By integrating advanced analytics, AI capabilities, Duo Assist helps developer to improve their performance. Now these two challenges, which is capture the web events happening and capture all the suggestion which is getting generated by the GitLab Duo, let's the bottleneck to the data pipeline. All right. increasing data volumes. As we said, say website traffic, it's like millions of events flowing through every hour or every minute, so based on real-time data insights. That's the biggest demand because we want to know how our users are interacting with our website. We don't want to wait for the last minute to see that there is a different pattern or people have gone for the negative this. Enhance flexibility and adaptability. Cost efficiency and resource optimization. With everything what we bring, it's they say that we always have to keep the tap on the cost, otherwise your price will just shoot up and you'll end up paying a lot of money to your SaaS providers. Support advanced analytics and AI. So this, all things, as you see in the diagram, it's an abundance of data, and if your pipeline is not meant well, it will just blow apart and you won't be able to get the metrics or the meaningful insights what you intend to get out of it. Moving with this, let's jump in what each of the tools with this infrastructure, what we have set up, is used for. So welcome to the modern data stack for the AI era. So GitLab we use for the version control, CI/CD for infrastructure as code and collaboration. So this is the platform where we put all of our Terraform code. We have a robust CI/CD pipeline built, which helps us to track each and every changes which is happening in the Terraform. We use Terraform to set up the whole pipeline right in the AWS or in GCP, where for this we have set up at AWS over there. And with the proper version control and proper CI/CD present, it helps us to iterate faster, gain our efficiency, and bring them valuable insight, ensuring that the infrastructure is always up to date and it's not, with the changes which we could push, it just doesn't blow apart. Snowplow. This is a tool which is used to collect the behavioral collection for platform for rich, high-quality data and collaboration. As it says, this is a web event capture or event captured, not just web. It captures any event which is being sent to it. And we'll discuss a little bit more deep when we move further. But this is a second tool in our stack. The third in the stack is a Snowflake, the data warehousing for storing and querying and analyzing data. So this is our core data lake or the data warehouse, what we use for. And finally, the Snowpipe. So the event gets generated real time. How do you ingest it into your target system into the data warehouse fast? And Snowpipe is a continuous data ingestion service for Snowflake. So with this combination of these four, we can continuously ingest data right from happening from the web events or from our GitLab Duo's code sessions, any tracking happening over there, it gets sent to the Snowplow. Snowplow sends, enrich the data, push it to Snowflake, but put it to S3 bucket or a staging area, and from there the Snowpipe consumes it, loaded to Snowflake. So let's deep dive. Let's deep dive into each of the technology. So this is something, Snowplow equal to Gratalisa. It's a word which my friend has told me. I was looking for Snowplow. So as Snowplow or Gratalisa, it moves through a road to pushes all the snows to the side of the corner. So it makes a clear path by streamlining all the snows towards one side and create a scene. Similar to that, a Snowplow is used to enrich the data. It takes all the unstructured, semi-structured data with lots of information inside it, curate it, and validate it with all the validation, with all the tracking what is required. It helps to enrich the incoming data which is coming from the various data sources. For example, in our case, it's GitLab.com, for example, or our AI GitLab Duo code session platform, which sends the data. It is heavily used for the enrichment process, for validation process, to see that the schema validation is good. We are capturing all the necessary information which is required, and we are also not capturing anything which is not required. So are we doing what is required? We collect only what is needed for the application to gain the insights from it. And that's with the Snowplow. And if you look further, this is with our landscape for the GitLab Duo. So ID tools like PyCharm or pick up your tool or JetBrains, send the event to GitLab Duo. And GitLab Duo, so GitLab Duo is a code session technique used. Once a user opt for sends a click that, okay, I need to write a function which should do this particular functionality, GitLab Duo will send an event, and it will send an event to the model to get you the response. What a Snowplow, and at the same time, it sets the events to our Snowplow endpoint to say that this much time it took for response to happen. Did the user accepted the suggestion which came through, or what happened? So this is something which is, this is a good amount of data, a heavy volume of data what is being used. That data comes to Snowplow, and then from a Snowplow we put it to a Snowflake, a DBT model which we use to transform this data, and then it is used in Tableau to get the valuable insight out of it. GitLab as a version control. So as said, we work with the collaboration. So GitLab, we host it in our infrastructure in AWS. So what GitLab is doing, it is helping us to see set up the versioning, a state initialization of the Terraform code, validate, plan, apply, and destroy the infrastructure, the test instances, not of course the production. But this tool helps us to help the authentication, that is a particular user who is trying to run this Terraform has a proper authentication to run that infrastructure or modify that infrastructure in it. Similarly, and with the help of Terraform, we are provisioning whole of the infrastructure. So GitLab ensures that the state and everything stays as it is. We don't deviate, we don't go and abrupt the whole infrastructure. And with the CI/CD pipeline, that's a very robust pipeline that we have seen, or we are using it, and what we have built as well, that helps us to take the pipeline to the very next level, where you don't run a Terraform plan or apply from your local system. You are responsible to commit your code, and with the commitment of code itself, the whole infrastructure just takes the CI/CD pipeline, takes care and ensure that the plan is working good, or what changes it's going to do. And the beauty of it is that you even don't manually go and run the merge. The GitLab, the pipeline is built that if a code owner or someone approves it, the infrastructure goes and gets deployed by itself, and it gets merged to the master branch as well. With this, moving to the Snowflake, the centralized data storage and analysis. A Snowflake is our data warehouse, which we use it effectively. We are storing close to 30 terabyte of data at this point of time. We are processing it. And having data in a Snowflake, and what's the role of it in the pipeline? It's act as a central data repository for processing and querying. It helps the powers analytics and ML use cases by storing process data. Key features is a scalable storage, compute, and separate processing layer. Just to give a brief on Snowflake, it has a compute and the storage separated. So if a team wants to use the same set of data, whereas like sales analytics and the finance team, they both want to use the same set of data. With having a Snowflake in our ecosystem, or the engineering team also wants to analyze the same set of data for the productivity of the tool, with having a dedicated compute allocated to them, we resolve the problem of noisy neighbors. So if someone is running a very heavy query on a Snowflake on their data set, it do not impact the performance of the finance team or the sales team or vice versa. So this is having a centralized data storage system. It helps us to reduce the data silos. It's keep everything in one place. We can just not get this event data coming from website or coming from GitLab Duo, but also from the other data sources coming, and we can integrate it together to get a meaningful business insights for them. And a Snowpipe at the last. This helps you feeling the data warehouse in the real time. What happens at Snowplow puts the generates the data, and once you anonymize and you do all the validation and enrichment of the data sets, the data gets placed into an external storage. In our case, it's an S3 bucket. And as soon as the data gets placed, over here, it sends a notification to the Snowpipe that a new file has arrived. And as the file arrives, Snowpipe kicks in. It's a serverless process within a Snowflake. It kicks in and it starts loading that particular file to the target table what is defined for. A Snowpipe do not loads the data in in the same way the batches of the files are arriving. So it just loads what arrives as. So it can be like, by the time an SQS message has been sent, a Snowpipe is running, there are 3 more files which has landed. And it is like in a second, within a 2 seconds, because Snowpipe generates abundance of data in our infrastructure. So Snowpipe will just load the batches without any ordering, just load all the files into your target system. So that's one thing. So that's, in our use case, it fits well to load the data in the one batch over here. And with this, coming to this, and if we put it all together, it's a highly scalable data pipeline what we built, which uses a Terraform, which uses for spinning up the infrastructure. Via GitLab, we use a Snowplow to capture the events. We use a Snowpipe to load the data into a Snowflake, and then we have Tableau, which runs. We have a DBT model which runs on top of these data sets, and which at the end generates the valuable insights which is required for the calculation. So how this all works to us? So what do you do? So how a Snowplow will start getting this data? So Snowplow provides an SDK which is present on the website, which is responsible to capture all the events and instrument the events and send it to the particular endpoint of Snowplow. So you instrument your website and application with Snowplow trackers. So that's you enable your trackers on your website or the application, in this case GitLab Duo. Configure a Snowplow to stream data to a Snowflake stage. So in the Snowplow, you set up the pipeline. When you set up the whole Snowplow infrastructure, you tell that you need to write this data to this particular bucket or external stage. So for us, it is AWS S3. Set the Snowpipe to automatically load data into Snowflake tables. So Snowpipe, there should not be a manual or a time base. It should be, as data arrives, it should get loaded into system. Use GitLab to manage your infrastructure and automate deployments. So GitLab helps to set up the infrastructure and do the deployment on the platform. And with this 4, and we put it all together, this is how the whole end-to-end data pipeline looks like. On the left-hand side, you can see over here the different applications which is used to send the events, and which sends like GitLab.com, code suggestions. There are a couple of internal about GitLab.com, other websites what GitLab has. We push it towards the endpoint, which is the endpoint of the Snowplow. From there, the data moves to the Snowplow comes with 2 processes. There is a collector and there is an enricher. So data moves to the highly scalable auto-scaling EC2 instances, which is set up, which is called collector. And over there, from there, the collector is responsible to collect the data, and it just validates the initial basic validation that is this data coming from a valid endpoint, and is this coming from a particular the list of application what is being asked, what we have said, we are valid to send the events. From there, the Amazon Kinesis or AWS Kinesis picks up the data. It's a fire hose. All the events, put it to the enricher. And enricher is where you enrich this whole data sets. You do the schema validation over there. And with the schema validation, you also try to enrich the data by adding the geolocations and geo information like that, which helps to bring more valuable insights onto these data sets. And from there, based on the validation and the schema validation, if the events are good, it moves further for good bucket landing or the bad bucket landing. So if an event is bad, we process it. We still anonymize those data sets. So we have a Lambda function which kicks in the mid, which anonymize anything which is not required, so that we capture, to keep the transparency very clean, that we capture what is only required to get the valuable insight. We don't capture anything which is not needed, and which for the data privacy. And then the data lands to the S3 bucket. Same goes with the good events, and there is a third bucket if you see. So as I said, the collector is responsible to do the very first data filtration, the data validation. That is the data coming from a valid application. And over there, the collector does the first filtration, and we call it raw bad data. So it's the very first bad data which gets filtered out, and that also gets written to the S3 bucket. As soon as the data lands to the S3 buckets, and SQS sends the information to the Snowpipe that this table, this path has a new file arrived, go ahead and proceed and load it to the target table. And that's what happens to the Snowflake, that we load both raw, good, and bad data. That's raw is our first landing area where this raw unstructured data lands, enriched data lands. And from there, we run the DBT model used just for a Snowflake to enrich, further transform this data. And then finally, query it in the Tableau and see that side. So with this, the end-to-end pipeline architecture, we get the whole scalability, because having EC2 sitting in mid as a scalable pipeline, the AWS Kinesis, which scales as per demands. And we have set up a huge dashboards around this to ensure that this whole movement of data gets tracked. We are able to know that there is how many events are coming in, how many events are going out, what's happening with this. So let's circle back on this. We had challenges, gain insight from all web events occurring at GitLab with in-depth analysis. So how do user journey analysis tracking, engagement metrics? So with this pipeline, with sending all these events data, we can improve the customer experience and drive business growth, empower data science team with reliable and scalable data, reduce cost and complexity, because the pipeline is set to be in a scalable infrastructure. So it scales and descales. So on the weekdays, we have a very heavy traffic, it scales. But over the weekend, when the traffic is low, it descales. So it's reduced down, bring the cost down as well. The second challenge was GitLab Duo. GitLab Duo is sending the codes, it tracks the user interaction with code suggestion, AI model performance, and user feedback. Code suggestion, this helps us to know that, understand the metrics like code suggestion acceptance rate, time spent, modifications made, and user feedback. This helps us to loop in the information back to the user, enhance user experience. So that's give the better results for the customer. So the credit value is what we were talking about. We talked about collaboration. We talked about results for the customers, the transparency with the anonymization of the data sets, and efficiencies of an iteration. With a small iteration, we were able to do it. The challenges, implementation challenges and solution. So with this whole pipeline of the setup, what we set up, the challenges was data latency. Mitigate with a Snowpipe, how do you solve the data latency problem? Mitigate with a Snowpipe real-time processing. Data quality. As this is semi-structured data, and you need to have a very clean data set, a structured, and we should give you a valuable, meaningful insight out of it, and enriched data. Ensure data validation in a Snowplow tracking. So Snowplow helps you to track that data sets and get you the valuable insights from there. A scalability issue. Address through software separation of compute and storage. So that's with the Snowflake, that we put everything over there, but we have different compute for different business need to process it. Complexity in integration. Utilize CI/CD pipeline for automated deployment. So this increase the efficiency of the engineers to work on this. And what's the advantages of this integrated approach? A scalability, easily scales data with volumes and complexity. As the complexity or the volume of the traffic which increases, scalability is not an issue. So the pipeline, which was just bursting out because of the huge amount of data coming up, with this infrastructure, with this setup what we have for the tracking, it is able to handle that volume of data. Cost efficiency, optimize storage and compute resources. Improved CI/CD, GitLab manage your infrastructure and automate the deployments. So that's the advantage of this, and real-time insight, facilitate real-time data collection and analysis. So this, with all these advantages and approach, you will be able to put your data strategy to handle the high volume of data sets coming with every seconds and every minute's processing, get data loaded to Snowflake and get a valuable insight in Tableau. Now let's talk with the data about the numbers. So we process at this point from the daily web events plus AI interaction close to 110 million events per day. And that's growing. And it's has just grown almost double in last 1 year. Process of data, this is the raw data which comes from the Snowflake. We process close to 400 GB of raw data from a Snowplow and we load it to a Snowflake every day. And that's the size of the volume of data which we are talking with just a limited application of limited use of certain tracking. And that's where we say we need to have a scalable data pipeline. And it should be part of any data strategy if you want to track web events and those kind of information. With this, I would like to conclude my talk. This is me. If you want to ask any questions or want to reach out to me, please scan the QR code and you'll find me there. I am highly available on LinkedIn and available. And time for questions over here.
Do we have any questions? Okay, yes, please.
Hi, my name is Dalibor, and first of all, thank you for the talk. My question is, do you use infrastructure as a code tools like Terraform for deploying Snowflake objects, or you deploy Snowflake objects like tables, views in different way?
So for Snowflake, we don't use it. The reason is that Snowflake Terraform version support is not officially supported by Snowflake, so it makes it very tough to manage it with every new features gets introduced in a Snowflake, and you don't have a particular installation present in Terraform for that. So that's the reason we don't use it for Snowflake. We use it for the other part. Snowflake has recently introduced a GitLab GitLab, I'm talking in the blood, so sorry for that. But Snowflake has introduced a Git repository interaction in the last San Francisco Summit, which is GA, where we are storing all the code in Git, and that should help us to make it at least code base present somewhere which interacts with the Snowflake UI, but not for Terraform. No.
Okay, thank you.
Do we have more questions? Okay.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Mr. Prakash, thank you very much. On behalf of the organizing team, I would like to thank you for your contribution to Data Science Conference. Thank you very much.